Hi guys, my name is Mohammed Aslam Khan. I'm here to teach you three chapters of business studies today, and this is grade 10 syllabus. So we are going to cover the basics of business studies in depth today. And if you have any doubts, you can comment under the comment section. And to learn more videos, please do not forget to subscribe. And if you feel this video is going to be useful, please do not forget to share to your friends. So let's move on to the chapter. So this is I have taken a textbook PDF file explain you the reason I didn't present it to you. I didn't present a video because I felt like most of the students pay their fees to learn virtual online, or they might feel when the lecturer is nearby, they feel a bit comfortable. That's why I'm showing my face in screen and I'm teaching you. And the second thing, I'm using the textbook reason. Many people doesn't have a chance to take a photocopy due to this pandemic, and it's very hard to have a hard copy. That's the reason everyone will have a hard copy on your textbook, and by end of the day you need to study your textbooks in order to pass your exams. You might go a lot of classes, but textbook is the actual thing which will be tested on your exams. So I'm not gonna explain you almost all the things in the textbook. I'm gonna go on to specific areas and I'm gonna stick there, and I will explain you each and every point. So please do not forget to ask any questions related to the explanation which I'm gonna give now. So let's move on to background of business. So these are the contents we're going to cover today. Number one, we have business concept. Number two, business objective, consumer needs and wants, manufacturing business, factors of production, stakeholders, objectives of stakeholders. So what is business is the first question. Many people have this question, what is business? So I'm going to explain you. Here you might see what is business. They are saying it's something it's something which people need to understand. A business is about satisfying the needs of the people, right? Satisfying the whole needs of the people, and they are going to satisfy the wants also. So in simple terms, if I'm going to say business, anything which satisfy human needs and wants is known as business. So you can write it down if you really wanted to. These are the things which can be tested on your paper. What is a business? So I can give you here anything which satisfies human needs and wants. This is the basic definition of business. But if you really want to learn these things into depth, I will be moving on the next content. Now let me move on how this business started. Had business started when people had some individual need to satisfy them. This all started in an era called barter system. So this also tested on exams. So I'm going to mark this area. You can underline in your textbook. Barter system is about exchanging goods to goods. This is we say it as the system of exchanging goods. So when people didn't have enough income, when people didn't have a way to moderate or exchange the things, they don't have a proper way. We say we don't have a medium of exchange. So if they didn't have a way to exchange the things, they had something we say it as they give some goods and in order return they get another good. So this exchanging goods to goods is known as barter system. But this is tested on paper in this way. What is a barter system? They can ask in exams, and you need to know it's exchanging goods to goods era is known as barter system. So they had some problems when they are doing this barter system. That's why today we all have money to overcome this problem. Whatever problems they would have gone through, they had few problems such as number one, I can say it as portability, divisibility. So what is portability? Portability is not easy to take now. If I'm going to sell a cow towards a person and that person has a wheat, you know, carrying the wheat might be easier, maybe 1 kilogram or 2 kilogram, but carrying two, three cows to exchange with the wheat is not that easy. That's what we say portability. Divisibility is it's very easy to divide it and exchange the goods and goods to goods very easily. So, but in goods to goods, you can't actually divide. That's the reason you had problems of divisibility, problems of portability. So these are the few problems you might see in a barter system and problems of divisibility. Okay, so you might also have problems of you can say measurability. Measurability means it's the way you measure the items. So like when you have a weight like 2 kilograms or 3 kilograms, it's very easy to measure through the scale. But when it comes to terms of exchange, you don't know how many cows to sell in order to get how kilograms of wheat. So there's a problem of concern. So these are the basic problems which they encountered when this barter system was eventually arised between these people. So when they're exchanging goods to goods, they had this problem. They all wanted to come out of this problem. They created money. So it's something also people need to accept, right? So acceptability also was not there because some people will consider, it's not a fair deal. So they will say that we don't accept this products. So you need to know these are the basic questions they can ask in exams. What is barter system first of all? And they might ask what are the problems they encountered in barter system. So these are the problems you need to remember. One is portability, divisibility, measurability, acceptability. So portability is about it's about carrying the item from one place to another. Problem you will go through when you are carrying it. It's very hard to carry. Divisibility is very hard to divide. Measurability is very hard to measure, and acceptability no one accepts your good because it's very certain, like you have salt but another person doesn't want salt, so your needs and wants is not meeting their standards, so it's not meeting each person's level of satisfaction when you exchange. So then of course there will be no exchange. So because of exchange, if there should be an exchange, people should mutually understand that my product is something which I can give, and in order I can get something. So in order to do that, they brought some system. We say it as today, we say it as money today, people use in order to exchange. But eventually, when business grew, they produced two goods. We said as consumer goods and capital goods. So as you all know, you need to know the basics of basics knowledge about consumer good. Consumer good is something you sell for the final consumption. Like you consume for the final consumption. Now, when you go and buy soap for your own need, and when you use a toothpaste for your own need, you are not going to sell for anyone because you are going to be the last user of that product. So when you consume something for your consumption, we say it as consumer good. But when you are going to take a product and sell towards outside, we say it as capital good. So because your intention is about selling the products towards someone. So when you sell the product towards someone, we say it as capital good. So I hope you understood the difference between consumer good and capital good, because capital good is about having a reselling purposes and they're going to make a profit. But consumer good is not like that. They will always consume for themselves. In future, I mean on last few points of video, I'll be explaining what is this consumer good and capital good before we end up this session. So let me move on to the next point we want to discuss. First of all, we'll finish the whole content of this textbook. Then we'll move on to the consumer goods and capital goods, because in exams, consumer goods are tested always. What are the four types of consumer goods? And I'll explain shortly. So moving on to the next point, I'll erase this. Business concepts. So we are on business concepts. So I can read to you because I feel it's a bit important. And you have any questions regarding this, I'll explain. Man has needs and wants from birth to death. These needs and wants are fulfilled by the businesses. Businessmen manufacture and distribute various goods and services according to the human needs and wants. The way businesses manufacture and distribute goods and services, and the way man fulfills his needs and wants have become different and complex today. A business is an economic activity which manufactures or provides different goods and services in order to fulfill human needs. Most of the firms are profit oriented, whereas some firms are not profit oriented. Especially most of the businesses in the government sector are driven by the social welfare motive, but not only by the profit motive. Even though majority of private sector businesses are driven by the profit motive, some firms are also driven by the welfare motive. So this is something which they are saying business concepts are divided. So in short, if you are reading this topic, you need to know basic thing about this topic. You don't want to learn this much of content. You need to know what they're trying to say in this. Business are divided into two categories, right? Business has two motives most of the time, right? In either ways, you can say number one. If I'm going to say it is profit motive or non-profit motive. Right? So profit motive, you can say number one. Non-profit motive, you can say number two. So you need to know. We have given clear understanding what is profit motive and what is non-profit motive. So profit motive is something all the businesses survive today on the environment to earn some sort of profit. Non-profit motive, they are not going to earn a profit. They're going to give society, but they might have a small profit, but not to the profit they are considering, because certain products what they sell, they wanted all the people to consume, so they will give at a lower price because people need to consume on the whole market. Because rich will consume, they will have enough income to consume, but poor, they will always go through a hard time to consume those products. So we move on to the next point, next content, most probably. What do you have to discuss? Okay, this is not that important, so I'm not going to move on to that part. So let's move on to the second page of the textbook, third page, if I'm not mistaken. Third page. So I'm going to teach you something we said as business objectives. Very important. People get confused what is business objectives and what are business goals, vision, mission. So let me explain you these in easy way. Business objective is something a business try to achieve within a short span of time. It's a target which you need to achieve. So when you set a target, now you see this man is having a row and he's just focusing on a target. It's just a target. So it's a target set by the business in order to earn a high income, right? In order to earn a market share, in order to satisfy the customers. We can have any type of target. It's a short term. It's always going to move. You're not going to keep your scope on that. But vision is something like you are going to do it for a long time. What are you going to do in 50 years of time? So that's what we say vision. What are you going to be actually, finally, your dreams. So that's vision. So what is mission? So I have goals, mission, vision, objectives, right? So what is mission? Mission is something when you go on to the company. Now you might see certain banks in Sri Lanka, they represent when you go to they say that customers are our value. Valuable customers are our satisfaction. So satisfying customers are our satisfaction. These are moral ethics of them. They present themselves in a better way. They want to show that how they love the customers. So they present in a proper way. They represent themselves. And when you move on to their organization, you might have boards about, you might have some sort of notice boards about what are they have planned and how they're going to do that, how they're going to satisfy you. So these are basics of mission. So it's about representing the organization in a detailed manner is what we say mission. So what is vision? It's like a long-term scope where you're going to be. A long-term target is what we say goals. So people get confused between these four terms. So goals, vision, mission, objective, right? So I'm gonna speak about objective because it's much tested on paper. But if they test mission, goals and objective, don't get confused. Vision is something you are going to focus for the future, where you are going to be. Goals is something you're going to have a long target. Mission is about representing the organization in a detailed manner. A person can understand by just devising the mission, what's the scope of the organization, what's the achievement, what's the purpose. All this you can learn when you are learning about mission. But what is business objective? Business objective speaks something about, it says that as a consumer, your objective is to obtain a quality product at a reasonable price to satisfy needs. So objective might change as a consumer, as a businessman, as a supplier. It can change from one person to another. As a manager, now if you are an employee, you might expect a basic salary. You might expect a good salary for the money you have spent. If you are a stakeholder, if you are most of the time, a stakeholder like shareholder who have invested money, of course you need a return on investment. If you are the manager of the business, you need to give good plans in order to achieve your targets, bonuses. So something like that, because business objective is set by yourself, but business set business objectives. That's what I'm going to speak now. I'm not going to speak about individual people's business objective. I'm going to speak about business objective. So now let me move on to this content. As a consumer, your objective is to obtain a quality product at a reasonable price to satisfy a need. Similarly, consumer and other different stakeholders of business have specific objectives to be fulfilled. Every business has a specific objective or set of objectives to be achieved because the parties such as owners of business, its managers, employees, customers, government, and community expect different returns from a business. So they all have different targets. So that's what I was explaining all this time. Let me move on to their each target. The following are some objectives that can be seen in common in a business: earning profit, increasing customer satisfaction. So this is the main target of all the business. This is what we say co or main objectives of business. So they can give you an exams. What are the main objectives of a business? So you need to remember it's earning profit, increasing customer satisfaction. Alternative ways, or you say additional objectives of a business, then of course you need to learn increasing the quality of goods and services, increasing the market share, increasing the employee welfare, something like that. So let me move on to earning profits. Number one, it says that profit earning objective is essential for a business because it has to pay a sufficient return to the owners for the invested money. Everyone who has invested money on the business need a return on investment. So earning profit is something important to the business, because if you do not earn money and give it back to the owner who has invested, then of course the owner will not be satisfied enough to invest more onto the business. He need a return on investment what he have invested. So this is very common thing. You need to achieve the target of giving back the money what he has invested to the business. Number two, increasing customer satisfaction. A happy customer will always bring good customers to the business. They are like butterflies to the business. When butterflies fly is so beautiful, when they bring customers, then of course your business is going to increase their sales, is going to boom your business in future. So survival of a business depends on how it satisfies the needs and wants of its customers. You have an angry customer, you made a customer, you know, not happy, then of course that customer is going to go and give a bad moral about your company. It's going to give represent your company in a bad manner. So always remember, when a person steps into the company, you need to satisfy them as much as possible. You need to make them smile and make them send very happily when they are going out of the company. In achieving the above objectives, business need to focus on sub objectives. Some of them are discussed below. So let me move on to the sub objectives what they have, but it's not sub. You can say additional objective they have said. Increasing the quality of goods and services. If the quality is there, when I pay money, if as a consumer, when I pay money, I expect two things as a consumer: quality, money should be cheap. If it is cheap and much quality, then of course I'll feel like, wow, man, this is a good company. I need to purchase product. So some people, when they consume the product, they'll feel satisfied and they will, inform to a friend, hey, this product is so awesome. So you just use and see. So they'll give good feedback. So feedback is very important to customer, business than consumer. So let me move on to the point we want to discuss. Business intend to provide quality goods and services at a reasonable price as well as fulfill consumer needs and wants. So they wanted to give product at a reasonable price, but in a good quality. Good quality will always give good business. Generating employment opportunities. If you are going to set up a business, you will give a lot of job opportunities to people. This will also eventually lead your company having a good moral towards the society. Is representing that you are giving job opportunities to people, but you might give job opportunities, but it depends on the company, because certain companies doesn't just give job opportunities for the sake of giving job opportunities. They will consider a highly qualified skilled people today will be recruited, not a normal person who are not educated. They will not be recruited in future as you expect. And the third point I want to discuss, it's about, yeah. The third point I want to discuss is about employee welfare. It says that providing various welfare facilities in addition to wages to satisfy the employees is another objective of most of the businesses. Food, accommodation facilities, transportation facilities, medical facilities are some examples for the various welfare facilities offered by business. Let me explain you the basic things, guys, before we move on to the next point. I want to remind you, most of the students who doesn't take a good business on business, they don't have a good grammar. They don't know to read and understand what are the terms. So here I'm speaking about welfare. Employee welfare is something additional benefits. You can say employee benefits. So employee benefits we say it as employee welfare. So if you want, you can write it there, because they don't know understand the meaning of these terms, so they don't get satisfied. Now here, if you see, providing various facilities in addition to wages. So wages is salary, but your government books, they have made it a bit complex, because the terms, if you do not understand, you will not score on paper. And let's say food, accommodation facilities. Accommodation means it's about giving some place to stay. That's what we say accommodation. Giving a place to stay, like a building for you to stay, we say it as accommodation. When I was your age, I didn't know these terms. Because of that, I felt very hard to learn business studies. But accounting, I was good in it, but somehow I managed to take an A in my exams. But I'm giving you an advice: know the terms properly. You will not go wrong. So what is employee welfare? The employee welfare means it's employee benefits which the company is going to give to the employees. If employees are satisfied, then of course customers will be easily satisfied, because employees are going to run the business properly. They are going to bring always new businesses. Whenever customer walks, they are going to meet the employee. You satisfy the employee, then of course the business is going to be satisfied as much as possible. So we move on to the next point we need to discuss. We say it as consumer needs and wants. So this is very easy. You need to understand what is need today. Need is something which people need to satisfy in order to survive. We say it as need. So these are things are not there, then of course you can't achieve success. You can't achieve your basic satisfaction. You need to have this to survive. So that's what we say need. So basic requirements to survive, or you can say The need is something that should be fulfilled in order to survive. So I can give the basic meaning of need, right? Need, basic requirement which could met in order to survive. So you all understood what is a need, right? So need is about having the basics for you to move ahead. So let me move on to the point we want to discuss. Human needs are requirement. This is tested in all papers. That's why I'm reading this for you. And guys, I'm reading because I'm not showing that I know a lot. I wanted you to know that this is how we do the exams. It's how you need to know. I'm reading for your satisfaction, because some students understand it very easily, but some students they feel very hard to learn the things. That's why I'm reading for yourself. So you have any concerns, you can comment on the comment section. Human needs are requirement that must be fulfilled essentially for existence. Food, clothing, and shelter are considered as basic human needs, and when the society develops, education, health, security, transportation, communication, and entertainment are also recognized as human needs. The following characteristics can be seen in human needs. So what they're trying to say when it comes to human needs, it's about satisfying the basic requirement for the people, and it's something like you need to have needs like food, clothing, shelter. If you do not have, you can't satisfy. You can't, go towards and work on that environment. So if this is not satisfied, you can really survive. So what are the characteristics of needs they are given? I'll teach you easy terms. We say it as mnemonics. Mnemonics means learning the things in a short way. I'm going to teach you now. Here they are given being essential is something essential to fulfill the need for existence. Beings common needs are common to every individual, cannot be created. Needs will arise naturally and hence cannot be created by business. When being limited needs are relatively very low in number. So this is characteristics of business. I'm going to teach you the basic characteristics in a different way. I'm going to put a mnemonics for you. So this is an easy way to know, you know this is mnemonics. I'm going to teach you. I'm writing a Chinese word. So now you might say, what is this person is writing? Escolitna. Escolitna? What is this escolitna? Let me teach you. S. You need to remember this. It's very easy. Essential. Okay. You can add essential somehow should be satisfied. It's you can decide because this can be tested on 2 marks or 4 marks on your paper. Common. CO means common. LI is representing limited, not that easy to satisfy. Very limited. TH, okay. D is basic and primary. Okay. And you have na, NA, right? Another Chinese word. So NA means narrow. So I'm gonna explain you that this with the want, because I want to teach you the same characteristics you can write in want manner. How can you write is just put the same term like escolitna is the term which I was speaking. I can use my whiteboard if you really want to use my whiteboard. Okay. I hope you guys can see my whiteboard. So what did I say? Escolitna is about need, right? Escolitna. So I already gave what is escolitna on need. So I'm gonna give you the wants characteristic. How easy it is to. Okay, so how do you write the same term, but you're going to put something. I'm not teaching you max because I'm a business studies lecturer. S O D. Okay, so what does it says? Not now I'm gonna write the same way. How I'm gonna write? Not essential. So it is the wants characteristics. See how easy it is. You can say not common or uncommon, whatever terms you feel. But I always write in this way so I can remember in exams. I don't miss any marks, not limited, or you can write unlimited, not on, unessential, uncommon, unlimited. You can write like that. So not TH, you can't say anything. You need to opt into that. So not these are basic and primary is what we learn. So not basic and primary, right? The last one, you can write not narrow, or you can say in other terms wide. anything you can remember. So this is the way you need to remember needs and wants. So if you know the needs characteristic, easy to learn wants characteristic. Just remember the not. These are the easy tips I can give you for you to learn towards your exam. So let me move on to the point I want to discuss. Let me move on to the PDF. Okay, so this is very easy. So this is very essential to survive. It's not. It's very common. Cannot be created. Being limited are the basic characteristics of need. So moving on to the next point, wants are different ways of satisfying need. Single need can be satisfied in different ways. Or you can also remember, you can write it here if you want. The, the alternative ways to satisfy need. So what is this alternative ways to satisfy need? It's another way of satisfying need is what we say want, right? So if you can satisfy in another way, now like if you take food, you might like string hoppers, ice cream, cake, whatever you like. So when you eat, we considering what you like, we say it as need, want. But considering you need to eat something, we say it as want. Food is something we say it as need. Clothes, you need to wear something. That's what we say clothes. So either I can wear a shirt or t-shirt. So I prefer shirts to wear. Then of course it becomes something of my want. So because students like to wear t-shirts, but I like to wear shirts because I'm a sir. Then of course clothes is it's a preference of a person. So it becomes a need and want might change one person to another. So let me move on to the next page, page number 5, right? So I explained you these things. These things, yeah, business produce different types of goods and services to fulfill human needs and wants of consumers. These wants have for living characteristics we spoke now. Not essential, not diverse means not common. Not it's very wide. Being diverse because even though the needs are common to any individual, the way they satisfy them differs depending on the socio-economic condition. You don't remember this term. Remember, it's very wide. Being wide or being diverse means it's not one. It has been broken into different particles. Like different person had different needs, different wants because now I might prefer to use this phone. Like if you see, this is a phone which I like. You know why I like this phone? The reason, if I move on to my camera, I can see something. We say as pop-up. You see this pop-up? Yeah. This pop-up is giving me an ideology that yeah, this pop-up is giving me an ideology that this phone is something which I need, which I want. Because some people will not like pop-ups, some people will like pop-up cameras. So my preference is pop-up camera. That's what it says. Being diverse can be created. Anyone can consider wants as something essential. Like it's like you see an advertisement. Until you see the advertisement, you don't consider it has something you need to consume. The moment you see some fantastic advertisement, you feel like, man, I need to have that. And most of the time the advertisement is considering you like a small guy, like a youth guy, like a teenage guy like you. Then of course you will be much attracted to that. So you will ask, hey mom, do you know next month for your salary, don't forget to buy this. So you remind them about what you need. That's a part of want, right? So being complex is not that easy to understand a person's want, because wants refers to people. So business need to understand what a want, what wants becomes something which people need. Today, if I give you a good example, morning we all have tea, right? In Sri Lanka, most of them drink tea. What's the reason people drink tea? Because they feel like whenever you have a tea, you feel like you are boost for the day. But evenings they have, they will have black coffee. A black coffee. So if why do they have a black coffee? Most of the time they feel like evening is a time to have a black coffee. So it's an ideology which the tradition has created in our country. Without tea, the day has not started. I mean, not you guys. It might be 95% of this country is like this. So it's being not that easy to understand a person's want that easy. So understand this want is very important for business to survive on earth. And it says that being unlimited, there are different wants that can be used to fulfill a single need. There are many ways to satisfy a need. That's what I said. It's not being limited. It's very unlimited. But a business which makes a want as a need, it's something very important to understand. So they have given something for you guys to do. I hope if you have any doubts on this, you can ask me. When we are doing papers, you will understand that there are very easy areas. So food, you can write what you like. Clothing, you can write what you want. Housing, like bungalows, apartments. Education, like whatever the education you like for me, ACCA. AATC. These are my qualifications, so I can write like that. Health, like where you are going to consider safety, whatever safety you want, like what you consider it as safety. Is it like you need to have some bodyguards with you, something like that, or password to your computer, transportation, which vehicles you are going to use, communication, how you are going to communicate, whatever phone, entertainment, how are you going to entertain yourself today. Entertainment is also considered as a part of need. So let me move on to the page number 6. So this is a very important area which has been tested in most of the case studies. They ask this question again and again. I have noticed this question in most of the papers. So let me explain you this type of things. So what does it says? Business can be categorized as follows based on the nature of product produced by business: commodity manufacturing business, service providing business. So the business provide two types of things. They provide either commodity or service. Or you can say manufacturing business or a business. As I said, there are two types of goods: consumer good and capital good. A business which does sell capital goods, not goods, capital goods, they can come into commodity manufacturing businesses because they're selling goods. But services is different when it comes to goods. Why a service is different? Because when I speak, you can't catch what I speak. Something like you can't touch it. So they might ask the difference between good and a service. So let me explain you these basic things. Commodity manufacturing business, tangible and physically existing things can be called as commodity, whereas establishment which produce the commodity required for the fulfillment of human needs and wants are called as commodity manufacturing business. This manufacturing business produce different types of goods that can satisfy a single need. They produce different goods by considering various tastes of consumers, income level, social status to ease the lifestyle of humans. The following are some example for different goods produced by the business. So they have processed food, automobile, electric ovens, mobile phones, washing machines, furniture. So what is this tangible and physically existing things? You can touch, you can feel that is there. You can see it through your naked eyes. So we said as tangible, physical, you can touch, you can move it, and you can store it, something like that. So if you need to, they can examine is very tricky. He can ask you what's the, they will not ask what's the difference between a commodity manufacturing business and a service providing business. They will ask what are two type of manufacturing business. You may need to know it's commodity manufacturing business, service providing business, and they might ask what's the difference between good and service. Now you might think, okay, I studied commodity manufacturing business, but I never studied good or service difference. Remember, guys, a commodity manufacturing business comes under the term called good. A service providing business comes under the term called service. So, a goods characteristics and a service characteristic is meant by commodity manufacturing business being good and service providing business being service. So, I'm going to give you the differences between them. I'm moving on to my whiteboard. I want to erase this. I want to write something. So a commodity manufacturing business. So what do you have in commodity manufacturing business? I'm going to speak about characteristics of this. And here I'm going to write it as goods. You remember this term, very important. Examiner loves this term, goods. What might you consider? As I already said, it's tangible. You can see it physically, physical existence. It's always there. You can touch. This is what we say tangible. Then storability. You can store it. Portability. You can carry it. Like mobility, you can move the things from one place to another. These are all things you can consider it as a part of what you say, uh, consider it as a part of a good, and it is going to be homogeneous. Many people doesn't know this meaning, homogeneous, right? So I'll explain you the meaning. Homogeneous, HOMOGENEUS. So homogeneous is about producing same kind of goods. The business can produce this, right? So I'll remove mobility. It's better you remember these five terms. When it comes to services, the same difference you're going to know. Same kind of goods means how do we produce same kind of goods? When you produce a phone, you are going to produce the same characteristics of phone in wide way, like thousands, 2,000, 3,000. But a service is going to be different. Why a service is different? Because you can't expect the same person to be like other person. Now, why we have problems in on our good earth? The reason, people's characters are different from one another. You might have a brother at your house who eats your food and he says like, no, I didn't do it. I didn't do it at all. I never ate your food. Did you see that? And they'll be like people. So when your father brings a chocolate for you and he wants to store the chocolate and he says, I bought a chocolate, so please. So your sister's like, let's go and take the chocolate. He'll enjoy it. So you have some people's characteristic which is very bad because they will steal it and they'll eat it. But when you ask them, no, I never had your chocolate. Who wants your chocolate? Why are you asking always me? So they always have this type of concern. So that's what we say service. Service is something different. But I'm going to speak about service. It's not about what you do it at home. It's about what you provide to people and you get an income from that. Now I'm doing a service. I'm giving something freely to my students. Whoever seeing this video, they learn a lot of things from this video. So I'm giving something for you. So that something is what we say service. So now my character and you might go a lot of classes. You might go for like most of the big classes on Sri Lankan market. So when you go class, you will understand my way of teaching and another way of lecturers teaching is very different. So this different way of teaching is always going to be different. That's making you unique on a market. So that's why we say service is different. So let me teach you service. We also can say it as service providing business. Yeah. And service providing business has a term called service. So I'm gonna write the characteristics of service. I want you guys to write. If you can write in your textbook, it's much better. You take if you are really want to give the textbook to some future generation, don't write in your textbook because we need to use the government resources properly. The government is doing a lot for us. So every book resource what they're given is not just a book. It's some person who has missed that book because government will try to give everyone everything, but we need to ensure that we take the maximum. You want to use the book, write there on the book, or you want to give the book to someone, don't write on the book, write on your writing book. So characteristics you can say intangible, you can't touch it, you can't feel it, no physical existence, right? No storage. So the same rule applies, no rule, no portability. You can say not tangible also, no, not tangible is also another good term you can use. No portability, no, not portable, or you can say it's very hard to. It's not something you can carry, and not homogeneous. We say it as heterogeneous. Heterogeneous. Okay, heterogeneous. So what is this heterogeneous? It's something. It's not the same kind. It's going to be different from one another. So again, I remind you, this confusion comes in a paper. What is this heterogeneous and homogeneous? This is what has been tested, and most students doesn't know this meaning. Homogeneous means it's something which they produce in the same kind, same way they are going to produce. It's going to be multiples. They are going to have the same way of production in millions or in billions. We don't know. But when it comes to heterogeneous, it's different from one person to another because you can't expect one person service is going to be like the same person service because today a service makes a person very complex, very definite a person I'm going to challenge. Many people are good talented. I have a lot of friends. They are much talented, but they don't know to speak. They don't know how to deliver the things to outside. I even don't know how much I deliver to you. When you see this video, I don't know how many of you all is going to understand. But that's why I say heterogeneous. It's something which you can't expect from one person to another. So if you're a good speaker, then of course you can achieve things very easily because you're a good speaker. If you are a bad speaker, then of course with your smart move you can achieve because it's differ from one person to another person. That's what I said. Heterogeneous cannot be the same. It cannot be copied by others. It's your own unique character. So don't copy others' characters when you have your own character. So build your character own. Follow yourself. Don't copy anything else. So let me move on to the textbook. I hope you understood what is good and service. So we'll move on to page number 7. There are some categories for you to name these activities. I'm not going to move on to that. Service providing business, an activity or a process rendered to consumers by a business in order, right? In order to fulfill their needs and wants are known as services. The business providing these services are known as service providing business, like wholesale business, retail business, insurance institution, banking institution, beauty salons, educational institutions. So these are the people who are going to give a service. What type of service they're going to make a transport, they're going to insure, they are going to give banking, beauty salons, education institution, all comes under service sectors. What does they do? They deliver something. You know, how come a wholesale business being a services, there can be agents who are going to take the product from one place and move on to the service from one place to another. That's also part of services. So whatever the services which they are going to give, it's going to be different because the way you are going to deliver is going to be different. That's what I explained all this time. So moving on to the page number 8. What do you have on page number 8? Factors of production, very good term. You need to remember, very important area. Business require different resources to produce goods and services. These resources required are known as factors of production. The factors of production can be categorized basically as land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So now there are 4 things in factors of production people need to know: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So what is they might ask you what is physical, what is man-made factors of production, or where is man involved in factors of production. There are 2 people who are involved in factors of production as humans. Number one we said as labor, number 2 we said as entrepreneurs. So remember, in 4: land, labor, entrepreneurs, and capital. Land, labor, capital, these all are managed by a person called entrepreneur. So entrepreneur manages land, labor, capital. He takes all the land, labor, capital, optimizes properly, and he take maximum use of it. So that's what entrepreneur is meant. So here they are given all the natural resources available are considered as land. It includes resources on the surface of the land as well as resources beneath the land, minerals, forest, soil. So whatever given, if you can also say the gifts from nature is also known as land. It's given freely to people, and it's like mineral, forest, forest, soil is already there on the market. So if you wanted to get use of it, we can get it easily. But today land you can't take because it's free on nature. Today government, the whole land of Sri Lanka belongs to the Sri Lankan government. So government needs to, confirm that this land belongs to you, or you need to buy that land because this is optimized maximum today on our country. So it's about, you can't go and say like this forest belongs to me. You can't get it, but you can, you can walk through the forest because it's something the land has given you freely. You can enjoy the nature, but you can't take the nature from people. So we move on to the next thing. Labor, the mental and physical contribution in a business can be considered as labor in simple terms. What is labor in other terms? It's something we said as physical efforts or mental efforts. So what is physical contribution? Mental and physical contribution means a person using his knowledge when in a working environment we said as mental contribution. Physical contribution is where a person is putting his efforts physically on a working environment is what we say physical contribution. But when he is putting his effort is divided, physical efforts is they are given workers in the mind-centered labors. Through physical, you're going to work through your body, you're going to use your body to work. We say it as physical efforts. But if you are a mental efforts, you are a person who is going to sit in a computer and start doing work. You're going to use your knowledge, you're going to use your brain to get the work done. Even a mind worker uses brain, but not to the level an accountant or manager uses his knowledge. That's the reason today all wanted to become educated much as possible because no one likes to work in mines and sanitary labors. That's actual truth today. That's the reason for today the market is moving towards tertiary sector. So let me move on to the third term, capital. Anything produced by man in order to facilitate manufacturing process is known as capital. Machinery, buildings, motor vehicles, money. So let me remind you the 2 different terms of capital when it comes to business studies and accounting. You will learn in accounting there is some formula called asset is equal capital plus liability. So in that you will learn capital as a man-made investment is known as capital, right? So investment made by the owner is known as capital. That's what we say accounting terms. But when it comes to business studies terms, you need to remember anything produced by man in order to facilitate manufacturing process. So this is very important to know. So I highlight this again. This area you need to know very thoroughly. The reason, the difference between, you can't write in business studies content like on part A, they ask all business studies. You can't go and write in part A on question number 2 or 3 or 4. Those are the areas where business studies are tested. 5, 6, 7 is accounting tested. So when it comes to 4, 2, 3, 4 areas of question, case study number 1, if they ask what is capital in business studies terms, you need to speak in business study terms. You don't write in accounting terms. When you write in accounting terms, you lose the marks, my dear buddy. So you need to understand that to use your marks properly, you need to know the terms, the difference between capital of business studies and capital of account. So they are given example: machinery, buildings, motor vehicles, money. These are all part of capital, right? And then we move on to, these are something which they are produced to sell for others. That's what we say business studies capital. Then we are moving on to entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs encompasses the role, encompasses means inheritance. They have or they will have within themselves. That's what we say encompasses the role of organizing factors of production such as land, labor, capital required for production in order to start and conduct a manufacturing process. You don't want to know these terms. Why many people lose marks on exams? When I was studying in my O levels, I always remember I by heart the terms. Don't by heart that. It's a fine advice. But when I did my chartered, when I did my higher qualification, I understood by just learning and memorizing it won't give you marks. It's just about knowing the knowledge and applying it properly. Now, most of the terms which I'm speaking from my own words. I don't speak from referring the textbook which is in front of me, because you need to know giving your own terms which will always make you success on your future. So if I'm going to write entrepreneurs, you need to remember entrepreneurship is about managing all the factors of production such as land, labor, capital. So, in order to take risk, you can say a person entrepreneur is also known as a risk taker, a person who will invest money, understanding himself that he is better. Now, I want to, when it comes to entrepreneurs, I want to teach you the clear difference between an entrepreneur and a businessman. Many people have this doubt. What's the difference between a businessman and an entrepreneur? A businessman doesn't follow like entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is a person very important. I want to say this here, right? I want to draw a line to highlight this. So this is making a person entrepreneur. A businessman can also take risk, but not to the level of entrepreneur. But second point, which is creates innovation. Entrepreneur creates innovation. He brings new products to the market. People need to understand an entrepreneur brings new products to the market. But a businessman doesn't do that. He just copies the product on the market and he sells the product to the market as the same product what others are selling. He just brings the product and he sells to the market. So that's what we say. He's not creating innovation. He's not bringing new things to the market. But an entrepreneur always bring a new product to the market. This make him as an entrepreneur. A businessman can also manage land, labor, capital, but not to the level an entrepreneur manages, because it's going to be his own idea what others can't predict. So we are going moving on to the next content area, page number 8, 9. Yeah, I hope you guys understood land, labor, capital. So let's move on to stakeholders of business. Where is this? So now, before we move on to stakeholders, I want to give a clear idea about what is stakeholder and what is the difference between a stakeholder and a shareholder. So now you need to understand a stakeholder is a set of people who are interested and influenced by the business. Okay, so stakeholders we say it as set of parties who are interested or influenced by the business activities. So I want you to remember this term very clearly. Stakeholders, parties who are influenced, affected. Now you might ask how a stakeholder can become affected by a business activity. You need to know a stakeholder is a person who is being affected and influenced by the business activity. The reason, when a business takes some sort of decision, it will affect them directly or indirectly. So, example, if I'm going to be a beer company which is selling beer to the market, then of course I'm doing a bad thing because I'm selling a bad product towards market. Who are getting affected? Consumers, public is getting affected because Sri Lankan roars, so they want to roar as much as possible. If they drink a beer, then of course they are going to roar in a different way. So it's very bad. It's going to affect the community. So we need to always ensure that these people should not affect the business. So business can affect the community, but they can save the community directly or indirectly. So the people who are getting affected by the business activities or influenced with directly or indirectly, we say as stakeholders. But there's another question many students ask me: what is the difference between a shareholder and a stakeholder, right? So I remind you, a shareholder is a person who invests on a business, but a stakeholder is a person who doesn't invest the money on a business. He's getting influenced and affected. So you need to remember the difference between a shareholder is not a it can be a stakeholder. Shareholder can be a stakeholder, but stakeholders are not always shareholders. So you need to know this term. Let me write it again. Who are shareholders? Parties who have invested money in the business, expecting a return of income. So I gave a clear picture about what we spoke. Stakeholders are parties who are influenced and affected by the business activities. Shareholders are parties who have invested money on the business, expecting a profit from the business. So you see the difference between the a shareholder can be a stakeholder, but not but all stakeholders are not shareholders because they're just shareholders are a part of a stakeholder. But shareholder itself is not itself a stakeholder. That's what I want to mean. So let me move on to the next content I want to discuss with you. It says that non is this community owners, managers, customers, suppliers, competitors, financial institutions, employers, government. So these are all the people who are getting affected on a business. So let me move on to their what's their meaning. I I don't want to move on to this very deep, but just remember these are not terms which can be tested on paper. Who are owners? I'll read it for you for your easy convenience. Owners are individuals providing resources to the business. The owner of a business can either be a single person or group of persons. If it is a group of persons, then of course it can be a partner, a sole proprietor, or else sole proprietor, or else we can say it as shareholder because we will study this in business organization. Manager, the business operations are conducted and decisions of the owners are implemented by the managers. In large scale business, there can be number of managers such as finance manager, marketing manager. Now these areas are read by me for your knowledge, but this is not much. This is not tested on exams. So know these terms. Who are customers? They are the people who are buying and selling the goods, and they always buy with reselling motive or with the motive to use for own consumption. These terms, remember, why do they buy goods? Okay, so they can be individuals. You can underline if you want. They buy it either for reselling, take it and sell to others, or they have motive to for their consumption. Underline it when you are learning. Suppliers are the providers of raw materials. So we can write providers of raw materials, transport facilities, etc. to the business. So they provide raw materials means what is raw material? When you produce something like when I'm a chocolate company, I want cocoa to make my chocolate uh, manufacturing. So buying the cocoa from a supplier is known as purchasing the products from a supplier. So supplier provide purchasing raw materials is being selling cocoa to make chocolate production. And moving on to the next term, we have yeah, competitors. What do you have when it comes to competitors? Competitors are other businesses producing or selling similar goods or services to a business in operation. So they are the people who are going to do the same thing what we are going to do, or they are going to do something which we are not going to do. Knowing about them is very important because if you know what they are going to do on next step, then of course you will be able to take the market very easy. Financial institutions are institutions provide require loan, consultancy services, etc. to a business. So you can take any type of services from this type of business. Like if you are a company who doesn't know much accounting, if you are a company who is like if few scientists make a company, the scientists will not know how to do Excel calculation most of the time. So they will hire some companies outside to do the accounts. So this becomes even accountancy services comes under financial institution. They might even give bank loans, banking services, consultancy. Like consultancy means advisory services, advising what is good and what is not to do. So that's advising services should be done by very big companies who have done a lot of advising services to the market. So let me move on to employees who are working in a company. We say it as employees. Government is the propagates policies. What is propagates, guys? Okay, so I want to teach you the meaning of propagate. So propagates means it's about, you need to be guided towards some area. It should be like you need to follow those things. It's what they say. The government propagates policies required to achieve economic growth of a country. So they take steps to achieve economic growth. Now, what is this economic growth? It's another term you need to remember. Growth on a country. The country is producing more as possible. We say it as economic growth. Today, the country is going through a pandemic, so they are not achieving economic growth. So then we have community, includes the population living outside of the business in the society. So it's about the public that's speaking about. It can be journalists, environmentalists, pressure groups. It's not only the public. They're saying community is a group of people who can be writing something about the business. They can be journalists. They're going to write good things. Environmentalists. They are going to see that the business is following the environmental thing. Pressure groups are people who are going to put pressure on business. That's what we say. Pressure groups. Very important term. Many people, students doesn't know what is pressure groups. So let me explain you. Pressure groups are the people who are going to put pressure on a business. How they can put pressure on the business? They can put a compensation claim if something happens to the consumers what they're going to sell. If they're going to dump garbage towards the nearby river, they're going to take photos and they're going to make it a strike, close this business, or they're going to give a bad brand image. So there are certain companies in Vietnam who are doing shoe manufacturing, took recently child labors, and they were doing like child labors to use the government sue the company, and almost the company went through a hard loss of time. So because of pressure groups took some pictures and they presented to the government took the action immediately. So they are not very easy people to meet. A community of pressure groups are very hard to be on the market. So we move on to the next point, next page. Page number, what's page number? These are terms. Again, must not just remember the terms. Yeah. So we're going to move on to page number 10. I want to clear this. So we're going to look on to the stakeholders and the examples. What are they going to do? What are the owner does? They have securities of investment. What does the objective of owner has? So let me move on to the objectives. So as we know, objectives we have learned it in a bit deep, but I want to give you a small explanation about objective before moving on to the onto the stakeholders and their objectives. So let me move on to the whiteboard. Objectives is also known as, we can say, characteristics of objectives. You have. I'm not speaking about business objective. I'm speaking about objectives. Of the objectives characteristics. So what are the objectives or characteristics? We say it as smart. Smart. SMAR. Smart means specific, measurable, accurate, reliable, or I can say relevant, time bounded, or I can say time period. So specific is something you need to be that focused when you are setting a target. Measurable, you can achieve the success and you can see how much terms you can achieve. Accurate, is it fully focused on the particular thing? Relevant, is it actually relevant for you to take a decision? Is it something essential? Or time bounded, how much time period to achieve that target? So this should be objective should be set like considering all these five factors, which is smart. So without smart you can't set an objective. So let me move on to the yeah let me move on to the text PDF file. Now here you see an objective has been set. So you have owners. What do they expect? They expect return, right? They expect a return, they need a profit, and they also need growth. So you don't know these terms, you don't want to buy the whole thing. So return on investment, you can put anything, earning a profit, earning some growth, you can put anything, but knowing this term is very important. So if you know the term, you can also know how to write the things on the paper. Then managers, we have taking decisions required to achieve the objectives, implementing those decisions, promotion and job satisfaction. So taking decisions, implementing those decisions, promotions, job satisfaction. So remember these terms. These terms are going to give you marks on paper. Let me clear this. Why? What does an employee request? He needs a proper wage, a salary, a job security. Some people need to respect him when you work in a company. If you don't have respect, then of course you need to move on from that company. Customers, reasonable price, quality products. Suppliers, giving orders continuously, getting money without any delay. Financial institutions, collecting loans, advances, gains, providing more loans and advance. So they want to give loans, they want to get loans. But I said financial institution not only give loans, they can also give advisory services, but they get paid for all these services what they do. Government, they collect taxes, they make job opportunities, they increase domestic production. Now this domestic production is a term people need to remember. What is this term? Domestic production speaks about. It's about producing as much as possible into the market. Now we all know what is a need, what is a want, but producing and giving to the whole market is what we say domestic production. So taking the market's need in consideration, you're producing the product persistently. We say it as domestic production. Whatever production you are doing, you're going to produce goods in abundance to the market. The whole all the goods in a country comes to one particular understanding. We say it as gross domestic product, or we say it as GDP. So domestic production is a considered part of that because it takes the whole economy's amount of goods and understands that how much they have produced last year and this year they have produced much, then of course the country has done good thing. How do you know that? How do you know how much they have produced? By today all the things are in updated way, like barcode systems they have everything in barcode. So whatever you are producing and harvesting, it's very hard to determine, but somewhat the government will be able to analyze that how much they are producing in a country. So determining the price of own products, like why do you want to know about the competitors? To face the competitors, to know what the competitors are charging, so you can set a price lower than that to attract the consumers. And community, analyzing whether business activities are conducted in an environmentally friendly manner, along with the business contribution to the social welfare. So when you produce something, are you achieving, are you satisfying the society? Are you not harming the? If you are not harming the society, it's better. If you harm the society, you are not being environmentally friendly. So this will affect your image. So these are the business, certain individuals' objectives. So they're given. Why do they contribute? These people. What are the reasons they always? What are they? What are they expect to contribute in a business. So owners contribute capital. They're dedicated, enthusiastic. They're very happy. They are very energetic to about business activities. They are the people who support. So these are the things what they do. So contribution also you can say what are these? What are the main roles a person is doing in a company? So it's not. It can be like objectives also. So like the same thing which we spoke in objectives. If you see the objectives, there it's also certainly the same, like, but they have some sort of return, security of investment, earning sufficient profit. This is individual's objective. Then we spoke about what are they providing. So here employees are appropriately completing the task assigned, increasing the productivity of labor. So what are they doing to the company? They are achieving the task given. Assigned means given. Increasing the productivity of labor, they ensure that you produce more as possible in when you're working. Suppliers, supplying quality raw materials continuously, supplying raw materials on time. So if you know what a supplier does, then of course writing is very easy. They give raw materials, but they give raw materials on time. Government giving advices, charging taxes, and also being friendly incentives. What is this incentive? Again, knowing the term is very important on exams. So let me remind you, incentives means additional benefits the government can give to a business to survive. Like they might reduce the taxes, they might even give a free land and ask them to go and do the work there. Something like that, what a government can do for a businessman. Okay, so these are the things which we have discussed on chapter number one. In upcoming videos, I'll be updating past papers and how to do papers on along with this chapter number one. So I hope you guys understood chapter number one. I have given you almost everything, but before we end up this chapter number one, I want to give you one more point. We want to discuss it. The difference between capital and consumer goods. There are four types of consumer goods you want to remember. As I said, consumer goods means goods consumed for final consumption, right? So consumer good is divided into four goods: convenience good, or you can say shopping good, special good, and you have finally unsought goods. So unsought goods. So you need to know these terms very clearly when you're learning. How does consumer goods consumed for final consumption? It's about convenience good. Convenience good is something which is consumed for your end consumption. You don't sell it to others, but when you consume for yourself. Like you, as I said, you buy soap for your own consumption. We say that's convenience good. So this is very cheap in price, and also it's very necessarily important for you. It can be something not even cheap, but very important. Without this, you can't survive. That's what we say convenience good. So let me write this in a. Let me give this meaning. Necessity good. Okay. Or you can say cheap, affordable. You can purchase this. It's in always set in a purchasing price. And also they might ask some examples on paper. So you can write example as soap, toothpaste, something like that. Shopping goods is something you take some considerable time to purchase, and you will come to an understanding. It's not that costly, but somewhat costly. Or you can say high price, not a high price. Takes time to purchase. Considerably higher in price compared to convenience food. Someone write. So what type of examples you can write? You take some time. You consider it's a big price on the market. Most time you are going to buy a T-shirt, a jean. You see a thing like that. Then of course we consider it as a big time. You will spend some time when you're buying a product. But special good is not like that. Very much time you spend a lot of time. So time consuming is very high. And also you can say expensive. It's very expensive. It's not that easy to consume. So example, you can say, what can you say? Time consuming is very high, expensive. Example, I can give you a good example. Cars, like branded cars, you can say, what can you say? Give me a good car, Gazelle or something. So these are the things which you spend a lot of money and amount of time when you purchase, so it becomes cars. Unsought goods, we can say, the good which is there on the market, but you do not know it is there on the market or not. Now you take an example when you are going to die. Okay, so if you know tomorrow you are going to die, will you be happy today? No, of course you are not going to be happy. So unsought good is like that. You don't know when you are going to die, but you will be prepared to die, right? When you get to know that you are going to die, you will get prepared. You will inform your parents, you will inform that, but you will understand when you need only you will purchase this product. So if your father is going to die, will you go and inform your father? Father, don't worry, I have purchased you a coffin. You know what's coffin, right? Coffin is a place where you put the buried person, a box. So when you go and say, Father, I have bought you 6 feet coffin. So when are you going to die? Are you going to die today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow? You can't ask like that. It's not nice. But when he dies, you will go and purchase. So it's something which is there on the market, but people don't purchase. When they want, they will go and purchase. So it's something which people knows that, but they don't purchase all the time. So consumers are aware about this product, purchase only when needed. So you can say example. and glossary. So glossary means dictionary, guys. So this is the few four types of consumer goods you need to remember when you are writing an exam. Most of the time, consumer goods are divided into four. They can ask you anything. So knowing this is not given in the textbook, but this tested on earlier syllabuses. So if you are going to, if they ask in any areas, you need to know these things because they are, it's in past papers. When you do the past papers, you will understand these type of goods have been expected to be remembered. So let me move on to the next part. He said as capital good. Okay, capital good we are purchasing in order to sell for others. Produced with reselling purpose. So I'm going to give the types of capital goods. Number one, we said as industrial goods. And number two, we can write consumer goods. So again, writing this term is very important for you to remember this. It will give you marks. So that's all for chapter number one. I hope you guys understood chapter number one very clearly. If you guys have any doubts on chapter number one or anything you wanted more videos on certain areas, you can specifically comment in the comment section and you can request me. So do not forget to subscribe our channel because we are trying to give as much as possible from our side to help you. So these classes, we are not charging anything. This is almost free. Inform almost for all the friends who are going to sit this year exams and next year. So they learn something out of it. I'm trying to do my maximum. And thank you for watching this video. And please share your friends as much as possible. See you guys on next video.